in helping you learn French, they say I should remind you that they have flexible time schedules, they have experienced and professional teachers, they have online, in-person, and hybrid classes. They also have French for teenagers and children above the age of 3. So if you're interested, register by calling the following number: 050-128-7814, 050-128-7814, or send them a WhatsApp message on 050-128-7818, 050-128-7818. Like I say, alternatively, you can visit their website at afaccra.org. Now, a big story that has been happening over the weekend. In fact, before we get into it, let me introduce our gentleman this morning joining us on Lifestyle Daily. Isef Akisi, we haven't seen him this year. Good morning. Good morning. Chartered insurer and a law student, as well as Banning Clinton Baffo, who's project director for NUS and a student activist. He said, I am not a politician. Julius is. Yes, good morning.
Going to drag me to Julius.
But both of you are vying. It looks like these are people vying for I know. Okay, you mentioned it briefly last 2 weeks. But I know this because as I'm me campaign chairman will be Jamaica. Live TV, boss. So that
my boss. I'll come and support. Just I'll come and support.
We'll talk about it when we are wrapping the conversation.
How's the weekend been for you guys?
It's been good. Writing exams and following up on these trending issues. National Cathedral, Bruhaha, Kujita, Blackwa, and then I think matters of utility increment, which was so unexpected. It took everybody by surprise, and then other trending issues. I think as we zoom into it, we'll talk about it. It's been quite good, and just that it's hectic combining academics with other personal activities. So far, so good.
Joseph, I would say same?
Not really. Not really. Academics on break at the moment, but I had a restful weekend. But I still have to read 1 or 2, but I mean, largely I had a restful weekend, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to read because he has to summarize to some of us. We can't read all of it. He'll tell us after he has read. Nice. But I want to go to Kisi because you're in the insurance industry.
Okay.
And so the big conversation on the debt exchange program, the positioning of the insurance industry, I'd say. Tell me your personal, position on the debt exchange program, okay? And then what it looks like for the insurance industry.
Well, I think to start with, good morning to everyone, and most especially to the GEPA community, the law faculty as well. To start with, I think generally my position is not substantially different from every Ghanaian. We think this debt exchange program is going to have a toll on us in terms of our economy and our finances as individuals as well. And how it will affect the insurance industry is that, the insurance industry operates on what we call a pool. So we assemble or kind of encourage people with risk to transfer the risk to the insurance company. They form a pool. We pay a little amount called the premium into that pool. Your risk that you brought in terms of the value is normally substantially different from the premium that you pay. The idea is that the premium that we get, we also invest, in other sources to get returns. So that when you have a loss, we pray that the 3 or the 4 of us don't get lost at the same time. So when you get a loss, we go into the pool, take some money, and also recover from the investment we've done and pay you off. Okay, so now what is happening is that, and how we invest is also regulated by the Insurance Commission. Okay, we'll tell you that invest X amount in government securities. So in terms of the money or the revenue, in terms of premium that comes to the insurance company, they don't have the luxury of investing anyway, anyhow. You understand? So now that government is saying we cannot give you what you would ordinarily be getting, it means that to break it down simple, it means that when you get a loss, you go to the insurance company. You shouldn't be expecting, or it might get to a point that what is due you won't get it. So the insurance company might be able to pay 70, 60% of the loss that you suffered, because the other 30, which have been recovered from investment returns, had been, as it were, locked up for a moment. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay.
I don't know if I could just quickly read, because I know former Finance Minister Komna before has been talking about this, and because he also runs the financial and the insurance sector, he said something. Let me just quickly say. He says that He was speaking on Joy, by the way. He said he explained that the government's decision to include insurance claims might cause problems for financial institutions since they would have to look elsewhere for monies to pay their clients. And quoting him, says the bond of 1.7 billion is huge. If you look at the insurance company, for example, the premiums they collect are now in the government bonds. Is that the case?
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely.
If it's a general business, it's there for claims payment. Your car is involved, for instance, if your car is involved in the accident, you have to pay from the premium they collected from you and other people. Now it's in the bond government has taken the bonds. If there is a claim, how would you pay? He quizzed. So I guess that's what you trying to explain.
I think I have a better perspective of the insurance side.
Now.
Okay, anyway, Clinton, what's your position on? I mean, we've touched on this debt restructure program, but it's progressive, so.
Yes, good morning. Let me also greet my audience. Good morning to everyone. I side with what my brother has shared, but I want to reiterate that we find ourselves in a challenge at this moment. And then in the midst of every challenge, there is a need for the one who caused the challenge to come up with a proposal, or the one who moderates or facilitates the activities of the challenge to come up with a proposal. So the debt exchange program is a good one the government has introduced, but I believe the major challenge we've had with the debt exchange program is the failure to communicate and consult, broader consultation with the stakeholders involved. This week has been very aggressive because individual bondholders who earlier were told that would be exempted from the exchange program unknowingly realized that in the implementation process they've been included. It happened to the pensioners and they agitated until they were exempted. I believe the finance ministry in rolling out this particular program should be very much concerned about the major stakeholders who are involved in this, because the government bond is one of the secured spaces that everybody would want to invest to avoid Ponzi schemes and other unforeseen financial challenges. So if I invest in government bonds and this is what happens to me, then you are causing, you are denting the reputation, let me put it that way, within the financial sector, because the security and the assurance with which I would invest my money in government bonds would be reduced. And at the end of the day, it's going to affect the running of government activities, because some of these investments are what the government also use to roll out its projects. There's been several instances within the week where we've had a lot of people, particularly with the individual bonds. I'm talking about that because that is the current trending issues when it has to do with the stakeholders involved in it. The individual bondholders have agitated that these are investment packages that are meant for their survival. They live on it. Some of them use it to pay their school fees. And for some of them, it's a collective effort of a family that has invested. So I meet rich people within a family, and then I come up with an idea that there is a government bond that I believe that leaving our money seated there without earning anything wouldn't help. So let us invest in it. So he took the money, invested in it, and the returns of it is what they use to run the family activities, paying off school fees and other things. So if you withhold payment of it, and then you even reduce their capital as per the conversation you've had with them that within this period you would have it, it means that they are going to have financial challenges in meeting the demands. As we speak now, utility bills have been increased. It means it's going to increase, it's going to have a toll on several activities within the country, because electricity totally runs every business within the country. So some of these things are going to have a ripple effect on the ordinary Ghanaian, and I believe that in as much as the debt exchange program is a good initiative coming from the government, they should have broader consultations. Either than that, people would always come in to agitate before you set up a team to meet with them. Why didn't he set up the team to meet with them before rolling it out? That is my question.
Right.
So we should look at it from that perspective.
God, let's really cut to the chase. I've heard the broader consultation. But as we sit here, let's take a leap into the future. What are some of the things that can really come out of a broader consultation? You were telling me what Senyo says. I've been hearing him, and he says that where's the equity in this? We know the nuances of the situation. If we met in broad daylight or in caucus, what really would come? What would the consultation come out? Is it to restructure it, or to let people understand that this is the only way out of government? And I'd like Kisi take that. Touch on the equity bit of it. People have said that we're all in this together. Why are you singling out some people and leaving some people out? That's number one. Number two, people said that broader consultation. What are some of the, hypothetically, what can come out of the broader consultation?
When he's not coming.
Well, I think in terms of the broader consultation, what can come out of it? So there has been this type of program being implemented. We have the Jamaica experience, we have the Greece experience. Okay, Jamaica consulted widely and people accepted or bought into the government idea that this is where we want to go. We are facing a national crisis. We need to restructure our debts so that we're able to get to where we want to get to, because we don't want to get to a situation whereby the whole economy will crash. That one, you actually lose everything. So it's like, okay, let me give a little to save the rest that I have in there. So in terms of what we can do, the broader consultation that has been is like, okay, let's look at what you are proposing to us. Okay, can we look at it differently? So for instance, people have said, okay, you want, say, corporate institutions, the banks and those fund managers to, waive off the returns that they will get within the next 2 years. So the idea, okay, are you going to cut us some slacks in terms of our tax returns? Are we going to some sort of regulations that will, restrict us to certain investments, free us a bit, let's also venture into one of these two areas, so that at least we understand that, yes, we are in this together. We are also making some savings for us as the company, but not to just put everything on us and just say, take it or leave it. And in fact, you cannot even leave it because absolutely have no option.
Okay.
You understand to it.
Okay.
And in terms of the equity bets, comes back to the same thing. We are all in this together. Why are you singling those bondholders? And it's shocking that those of us who've learned a bit of finance, we understand that normally the cliche is like government bonds are risk-free. So you can invest everything in it, go to sleep, and tomorrow you say, government, give me my money, and your money will be made available to you. And it's now that we are trying to look at that presumption is being rebutted, and it's a very serious financial issue that we have to look at. So the bottom line is that call the people, and the underpinning, if you listen to the individual bondholders, the pensioners, you get the understand. People are willing to support government, but don't just put your proposal and just dump it on us. Let's sit at the table. We can also come up with certain things that you, the government, you might not have even thought of it. And that will even help us more, you understand?
Okay.
But the larger bet, government, I don't know how government will come up with a strategy, if not through probably indirect taxes that everybody will be roping into the net, which, in fact, the budget, we've had some increments in taxes and a bit of, so I don't know how government...
Clinton, do you think that all bondholders are the same? All bondholders are the same. Are they the same? You may have read the story of the retired man who says that because of Ponzi scheme, like I'm just learning from Kisi, you think about government bonds and it is risk-free. That's the perception. So you will take your money from a private area which you think could be a Ponzi scheme, or you don't have some assurances to the government side, because you can just wake up and you have what you want back. But do you think if Kisi and I are going to purchase a bond from government, is the presumption that we are all the same?
Yes. Before I come back to that, I want to add up to the very essence why broader consultation is important. You know, it's a proposal the government has made, and then it is expected that the proposal will invite ideas that could advance whatever the government wants to roll out. So broader consultations is going to bring clarity to the proposal the government have made. It is going to invite individuals with like-minded individuals within the space of such investment packages, outside the box of politics and outside the box of personal interest, to express their opinion. Individuals who have had experience with rolling out such debt exchange programs. We've had Jamaica, we've had several other countries that has rolled it out. When you open up to broader consultations, you invite like-minded people to come on board, and through the consultations, you would be able to arrive at a solution to the impending challenge which is causing people to agitate. So I believe broader consultations is one of the most important things. Currently, we're seeing the government set up a team, a technical committee that is expected to engage the individual bondholders. And I believe this is what the people want to know. as my brother rightly said, the people want to help the government, but it seems the government doesn't want to take their opinions. But then these are stakeholders who have higher stake in whatever that you are discussing. It is my money I've invested, and you would want to redesign it for me. You would have to consult me, because when I was buying it, you had a contract with me. So you don't breach the contract and make it look like you have that sort of superiority over the contract that we've had, because in this context, it has nothing to do with that. And with regards to the question you asked on whether when we go in we are the same, we are not. If my brother Kisi, who is a law student and a chartered insurer, he's earning so much, you see, and then I'm a student. Let me.
You
don't want people to charge you. You are responding to it already. So the point I'm making here is that everybody has plans on what he wants to use the returns for. As I rightly said, the individual bondholders, you could clearly see the man. The money or the returns is what he used to cater for his hospital bills. Someone can make an investment and within the next 10, 15 years, wouldn't even check how much has piled in his account from the dividends that he has acquired from it, because he has given himself, let's say, 10, 20 years before he touches it. So for such people, they don't care. But in this instance, we are not looking at those who are comfortable with the debt exchange. We are looking at those who survive on the returns of the debt exchange. So if you end up rolling it out without consulting or putting the plight of these people in the middle of the conversation, then you are being a bit harsh and a bit unconcerned about the challenges these people would go through. So I believe broader consultations is important, and then it is not equitable looking at how it is being run. But as you rightly said, aside some of these things, it is only tax components that could absorb every one. And then the sacrifices needs to be made in this particular instance to find solution to the current challenge that we have. So we should understand it from that angle. But consultations and engagement must go into it to make sure that we don't have further repercussions coming out of a good decision that we are making. You know, sometimes you can be coming out with a very good initiative, but then if the approach is wrong, people see it from a different perspective. Yeah. So that's what I want to say.
And my worry even with that is the fact that are people not going to, the confidence people have in government, is it not going to deplete, for the want of a better word, because of the action government is taking? And now people are calling, like you said, people are calling for broader consultation. Government didn't have that posture in the beginning. Yeah. So for me as an individual bondholder, probably these people, they don't know what they're doing. And now government will now have to spend money to do some sensitization and awareness driven programs to let people come together and decide that this is the way to go. I'm curious, and I'm asking
the financial sector as we speak now has a very dangerous future, because it is risk-free to invest in government bonds. And as we speak now, it is of high risk to invest in government bonds, because any ordinary person could easily conclude that the government is also running a Ponzi scheme, because it's like, I came to make an investment and I'm coming for my money. So it means that earlier I thought when I make an investment, nothing could stop me from getting my returns. But now I know the government has the superior power to take a decision on the money I've invested. And I think the government revisited the introduction of the individual bondholders, because when they realized they were exempted, they knew it would get to the point where they would be. So they were going for their money, which would drain the financial institutions, because the liquidity initiative they intended rolling out to get the banks so much money that they could pay off some of these individual holders didn't go. So people were going in to take their money. So if you don't lock them up, they go for the money. You collapse the banks. So it's a hasty decision that has been taken.
It's very dangerous now,
very
because
dangerous.
We realize we came up from a period of the banking sector crisis.
Yes.
And I'm proud to that we had this Ponzi scheme, as is mentioned, and people try to move their money to the banking sector. Banking sector clean up, people lost trust. Now let's move to government. Now absolutely you have nowhere than to put it under your pillow than to keep your money.
It's not safe anymore.
Exactly. So now it's very dangerous, and like broader consultation was needed. And now government has incurred on itself double work. Yes. Now you have to go and sensitize the people, let them understand why they still have to trust the government. And I'm also, I do not get it, especially when the Ministry of Finance wrote to the Attorney General for legal advice. I mean, you realize that the Ministry of Finance wanted to use an enactment, an act of Parliament to, as it were, curtail people from getting their returns. And the Attorney General rightly advised, yes, you can go ahead with your legislation, but in terms of our constitutional dispensation, Article 107 will say that you cannot enact any law that will take retrospective effect. And so that was lost. They also wanted to use an executive instrument, which will fall under Article 2131, which in essence will be more of a state of emergency, which has certain requirements to which we've not met. So that was also gone. And the Attorney General said, okay, then they will even try to use legislative instruments in terms of subsidiary legislation. But if there's no substantive legislation, you cannot have subsidiary legislation to act. So the last resort that Attorney General advised in his legal opinion was that engage the people. What the people have with you now is if it's a valid contract, and it's only subject to the Contracts Act and also common law principles. And this will only tell you that in case you want to amend any contract, you have to seek consent from the other party. That's the only way you can get through. Other than that, whatever you do, you are just going to, incur for him more work to do, because people will line up at the court to say that, okay, you've implemented this, I don't agree, I'm standing by initial contract, and which the position of law would ordinarily favor such people. You understand? So when he said engage them, and shocking to know that the Ministry of Finance says by 31st January, if you don't, those who willingly want to participate, if you don't, they are just going
Two things. What does the Ministry, you want to
No, finish.
What does the Ministry of Finance say when they say that it is not mandatory, it's purely involuntary, it's purely voluntary? Then also, I do not understand finance, but maybe we've gone past the stage. But what is really the difficulty if a country files for bankruptcy? If a country went for the option of filing for bankruptcy, what's the worst that can happen? People that will come to your financial aid will withdraw, which means that you're forced to want to stay within the revenue that you collect in your country for a period, all right? And that period will be like a turmoil. It'll be very difficult for us as a country. But that is a sure-tested way that after that period, the years ahead of you will be quite risk-free. I know we've gone past that stage. That's why we've gone to IMF. But is anybody at all, is that option, can it be put on the table at all?
It's no option.
It's a no
it
option,
cannot, Absolutely. Because remember, Ghana went to HIPC around the President Kufuor's era, highly indebted poor country. We had certain reliefs. And now Ghana, per our economic projection, we say we are a middle-income earner. And such reliefs is not for middle-income earning countries' economies. It's for low income. So as of now, unless you declare yourself as a low income, yes. And I know very well I have certain political effects, and I'm not sure the government.
No government wants to do that, right?
Our country would not succumb to such because,
What if in essence that's what it is?
I doubt.
No, we've not gotten there yet. I think
we can still manage.
Yes.
Massage our conditions.
We can massage if government really will. There are certain revenues, and like Senior Jose will ask, what is government putting in place? Okay, this is government expenditure, and we learn that there are 20 or plus communicators at the presidency. These people are earning our money. What are they doing? We don't have so much. And just look at the Auditor General's report. So many leakages. A project that cost 1.7 million has skyrocketed to 26 million because somebody who was supposed to implement was sick. And it's just unbelievable. And this is pure money. You cannot waste money and say you need money. It's unthinkable.
I think that's what's making it difficult for these bondholders to want to because for the whole
I've heard experts say the West is yet to come, the West is yet to come. We're not trying to be dooms prophets or doomsday prophets, but the West is yet to come. We've been borrowing. We're back to the IMF. Government is saying that this domestic debt exchange program is the way to go.
Yeah.
Should people trust it and say that government will really, whatever it is that we're getting from the IMF will be implemented in reviving our economy, people will get their monies back? Should people really have confidence in government?
That's the challenge as we speak, because the confidence the bondholders had in the government has been lost. And it got lost the very instance government took the decision without consulting them. So you are trying to send a signal to them that if we accept it, you are now consulting us because we are agitating. If we accept your proposal now, in the next 10 to 15 years that you claim that is when you would our redesigned bond would mature for us to have access to, you may not even be in power anymore.
Let me understand, will the percentage change?
Oh, I think there's an increase. They have assured them of an increase. I think 8%, 9%.
Yeah, some 8%.
And that is making them feel you are just giving them a juicy offer because you want them to accept. So most of them on Twitter, you could see that, fine, it is not a bad deal at all, looking at the returns we are going to have in the next 10 to 15 years.
But is it feasible?
But yes, but is it feasible? Can we trust it from now till the next 15, 10 years?
You won't go back to the IMF.
Exactly.
And how can we pick out of the larger pool to know that genuinely this is what you depend on, like the pensioner or whoever is retired? Can we pick and can we save the pool and have maybe, you see these two people, they look like people have, if they have bonds like this, you don't need it now.
He's the one who rather needs it.
But you see, but there's some people. Is that where we can we really say?
I think that the data
that will not be equitable as well, because at the end of the day, you see, it's when you zoom into that space, you'll be delving into how people came out with proposals on free SHS. When you want to exempt, on what basis, under what criteria? Because anybody you would want to exempt from it would feel that, oh, then the risk involved in it, I'm out. I may not care about the debt exchange program being rolled out by the government because I don't really need my money now. But the moment exemptions come in, I would have to care. Because now it means that a larger portion of the pressure on the money would be mounted on my money. So it means that even in the next 10, 15 years that I'm thinking of going for the money, I may not get it.
That's clear. So 31st January.
Yes, yes, they intend, but I'm sure there may be some extension to it because consultations are not over. And then until the people you are using their money have accepted the proposal, it would be quite autocratic to just roll it out like that.
I'm sorry, I don't even messed out, but could you quickly, did you touch on Emma's first question about what government means, but it's not mandatory, it's voluntary? Did you touch on it?
No. Let me leave him to.
I mean, yes, they can say it's not mandatory but voluntary because they've given a proposal and you have to. But what they fail to tell us is that there's no other option. You don't have a so it's voluntary, however, it's compulsory.
The point is that I think I saw a post from the de facto Prime Minister. I don't want to mention it. De facto Prime Minister stating that it's either you take the bond or you lose your money.
Lose everything.
See,
I mean, that's where we are
the proposal seeks to shield because they could forecast the economic conditions in the next few years. So whatever the government is doing, and as much as people may have their own interests politicizing it, it tends to also cushion some unexpected moments that may happen if we don't roll out this debt exchange program. So your failure to succumb to it would mean that you would lose, because if you are going in for your money, remember that even if you are not doing the debt exchange program, you are not part of the debt exchange program, you cannot have your full capital. So it means you tend to lose when you decide not to do it.
Indeed.
Exactly. So they would say it's voluntary, but then, as he said, it is mandatory because your failure to be a part would.
My friend, tell me, why is the North Tower MP going to charge? What's that? I mean, he's been putting a lot of posts on the National Cathedral and then one of the board members. But what exactly in there is he taking? Is he going to charge for? I want an overview of it. Which one of you have followed have you followed the story closely? Very well. Please give me a brief. What are the facts of the matter? What are his issues?
I've always admired the position of Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa and bringing such issues to the limelight for the citizens to know what their monies are being used for. It is good to do that as an MP because that is what you are there to do. But on the other hand, I think sometimes he goes beyond the bar because once you keep giving information that doesn't have facts to prove that this is the actual point of it, then you give people the space to start thinking that these are propaganda that has been staged by political people because you just want to win political scores to your party. You realize that my stance on the National Cathedral is that it is not a bad project for the government to do because at the end of the day, we even have the mosque, the national mosque, and then. But my point is on our scale of preference, is it something that we need to attend to, looking at the current economic conditions that we are in? It is not. However, if the government insists that it wants to proceed with it, without the funds from the citizens, without the allocations that we have made through our taxes that we have paid, he should also make sure that he doesn't touch the money that he has said he's not what touching. You get me? So if you create an impression that makes it look like you are touching the money, you draw public attention to it. But on the other hand, the argument is that it is not for him. So if you say he should find his money to do it, he doesn't own it when he's done building it. That is the point. The board of trustees and the executive director for the National Cathedral have come out on several occasions to debunk any allegation that has been made by Okudzeto Ablakwa, to the extent that they have said if they would want to call them for probity, they would avail themselves. I want to emphasize on the reputation of these individuals that has been put on the board with regards to putting up the National Cathedral. If you would want to go hard on some of these people, then you must come with statements that are factual, because if you bring the names of people like Reverend Kusi Boateng, names of people like Reverend Apostle Professor Opoku Nyina, these are religious people who have a lot of followers. These are religious people who have a reputation to protect. They are there because it falls within their jurisdiction, it falls within their operations to moderate and handle some of these things. And proposals were sent, they accepted it. So I think in as much as he would want to draw the public attention to it, he should make sure that some of the consents are factual and are not just meant for political scores, because reputations well built can't be dented by just a comment you make because you failed to research more on something you had access to. I think there is more to whatever that he says than just putting headlines that drags the name of such people into disrepute.
I don't know whether I'm the one that didn't read well, but I dare to say that I saw he went quite beyond just a comment. But as to whether these informations that he brought out is correct, the sources are what we can trust. Is what I think. But I don't think he just spewed comments. But have you followed it? Tell me.
Yeah. So just to start, I think I would differ a bit and would like to share your opinion. Because you realize that the MP, I would prefer a parliament or members of parliament that will engage in this kind of business than members of parliament who stay in parliament for 4 years and you don't hear anything about them. Like I'm saying about the Auditor General, if you read the reports, several leakages. So yes, in as much as we don't want people to go defaming people, we also want, parliament that is very effective when they are working.
To prove.
You understand? And like he said, Okudzeto made allegations, he provided certain documentations to it. On the face of it, I'm not saying it's credible or that's the accurate truth, but on the face of it, you try to understand what the work he's done. Getting certain documentation. So he did not make allegations just for making sake. So just to sum up the whole issue, what's the whole issue? If you follow the story, what he's saying is that National Cathedral made a representation to Parliament in terms of monies that has been spent. And he realized that out of the expenditure, 2.6 million has been paid to a particular institution as services rendered to the National Cathedral. Then he tried to look up for that particular company. He realized that they were not part of the consortium. That particular company is not part. So how come they are being paid directly from the state? And you know that those contractors, even though there are 3 major contractors on the project, they will engage other subcontractors. So if there's any payment, it will come from the contractors to the subcontractor, not directly from the consolidated or from the government. Okay. Then he realized that. So he went to look up for that company, and he realized that the company is a school, a crèche. Then he alarmed him the more. Then he tried to look up for those behind the company. He realized there are 3 directors to the company, and he realized that one of them was the pastor to Reverend Kusi Boateng, a junior pastor, and the wife, and one Edu Jemfi. He realized that he doesn't have anything much about that particular Edu Jemfi. Then he said, okay, he'll try and look up a bit to understand. So he called for the documentation. When you are registering your company, you put in your IDs and everything. So immediately he got the ID, he realized it was the picture of Reverend Kusi Boateng in there. Then he alarmed him the more, realized that, shush. Then he went to look for other businesses, but that's not really important. So his argument is that as a trustee of the board, conflict of interest, because you take the decision to engage those contractors. So the point is, you do not engage a company of your own. And in terms of company law, corporate governance, if there's any decision to take, and you are part of those decisions, and you have a firm or institution or have any particular interest, you declare and recuse yourself from the meeting. But I realized that there's no documentation to prove that. Then he sensed a conflict of interest on the face of it. So the idea is that, okay, then let's figure out how come you are not part of the consulting, you were paid money. It was then, the chairman responded that it was loan that was advanced to the National Cathedral. So it was just repayment of the loan, interest-free, you understand. Then you also have to look further and realize that the stated capital of this institution that you are talking about, JNS, was 500 Ghana cedi. And we've been able to advance 2.6.
As a loan to the National Cathedral.
To the National. And this is a crèche, and a fair idea how much crèche fees will make. So, that also aside, it will interest you to know, what he said later on after this rebuttal by the chairman was that chairman said they needed money to undergo certain construction, quickly, because the rains were coming and things had to be done. Government has not advanced money and all that. But I realized that within that period that
they got the money.
They got the money. The National Cathedral itself, their account had like 6 million in there. And that's shocking. So that has not been rebutted. So we'll take it like it's just an allegation waiting for rebuttal from the National Cathedral. So then he said that, okay, based on everything that is happening, he sensed more of a conflict of interest in there. And he's done the right thing. He's not just ended just making social media posts, but then proceeded to SHRAJ, which is the constitutional mandated body to look out for any conflict of interest. You understand? And I think we should be a bit interested in we revere our men of God, we revere the National Cathedral. Like he said, priority-wise, you are taking individual bondholders and you are still building. It doesn't make economic sense. But, people with faith and economy don't mess up. So, that aside. So, in essence, this is what Honorable Kujato is
as long as something that is of national interest comes with such ambiguity, then it begs people to want to put their own interpretations on it, especially because he is part of the board. And the fact that the documentation even looks very sinister. If it is true, that is very dark, because then we're going to find some criminal allegations in there. You own 2 passports and this and that.
I think we've established that as an allegation. So that should.
Our concern here is that if there is an ambiguity in such a project, it shouldn't be a go area. It shouldn't be a no-go area. Yeah, it's a no-go area. That's all I'm saying. Let's not have ambiguities. This is a straightforward thing.
I think what the Board of Trustees, as their name suggests, they want us to trust them. They should communicate more with clarity, because these are religious leaders, and then we expect, because at the end of the day, someone has alleged or someone has communicated to the public with such information. It is expected that within the shortest possible time you gather, because it's not true. That has always been my problem. You fail to communicate, you fail to consult, and you fail to do some of these things until it becomes a big mess, and then you would want to come back and then cover it up.
Let's not say it's not true. Whether true or not, we can't say that it's
we
true.
Don't know. I mean,
if they believe it's not true, then they should come
exactly. That is what I'm trying to say.
It.
If you, as the director rightly said, whatever that he's saying is not true, and then he even in his statement stated that is alleged crèche, that means he also stating that the institution is not a crèche. So it means there is more to know from this whole issue. So I expect the PR team or the corporate communications unit of the whole National Cathedral Secretariat to have a press conference or press.
If it's not true, Reverend Christie would have some good amount of damages accrued.
Oh yes, if he takes it up. But sometimes the silence of someone means he's taking legal. I'm sure, because while he's been silent when
he said the chairman has been speaking. Yes. He's part of the board, so they speak on his behalf. Except in church last Sunday, he said that how can he go up if he doesn't fight demons?
So I'm sure they will.
I have my last question for you guys before you go, because our time is up. I'm looking at this National Cathedral thing again and again and again and playing it in my mind. And as a Christian, sometimes I don't know where I stand in the conversation. So I just want to ask you guys, on the surface, do you think that government's agenda, government's desire, the passion government has to make this thing happen even with all the criticisms that is coming, do you think that this National Cathedral, the success of this National Cathedral is purely religious or business? Is government pushing this agenda because they genuinely believe that, is it a 3,000 seater capacity? I've forgotten the 5,000.
Yeah.
They believe so much that it's, apart from tourism, it's going to generate this, all the reasons why they say they're doing this. Do you think it's purely business, or do you think it's more religious because we also are a Christian country and we believe that if you do something for God, we are bound to be blessed in future, even though we can't see it now?
I think it's more religious because in a country that has Christians dominating, it's not a step in the wrong direction to have a national cathedral that could accommodate Christians in national conversations when it has to do with national gatherings for Christian community. So it's more religious. The business aspect is a secondary matter to it, because when the space is open and people want to hire it, someone visits the country, and for tourist attractions, they want to visit.
Our time is up. Before you take your last bite, I'm afraid if it is purely religious, then it must stay religious. But if it is religious and they're still introducing the tourism and business side, would you allow a Buddhist in there?
It cannot be religious.
If it is, can you
religion is
still
not
use it
supposed
for
to make no
business?
business.
It cannot, because
Jesus had to separate the business from the faith.
It cannot.
Remember,
It
when he had to
cannot.
whip people because they were selling.
I mean,
in-
yeah,
I want to know why he says it cannot.
No,
be
it
religious.
cannot, because the Attorney General has just stated clearly, and I wrote to refer us to the case of Kwabena Bonfe Kabila and the Attorney General. That was the position of the Attorney General, who's the legal say government. Kabila's case was that government is intermeddling in religious activities. The government said no, we are just providing a land. And in fact, if you read that judgment, it was like we are just providing land, we are not any state money to it and all those stuff. And they were clear that we are not engaging in any religious activity, you understand? And so for me, reading that, my mind is that, okay,
This
it's
is
more.
purely business. It's
But aside the legal aspect, you say that it's religious.
It's religious
like
because
saying.
of the organizational structure for the team that is managing the project. If it is purely business, probably the government would have absorbed the business community into it. But you could see that the board of no, I mean the top level managerial community of the initiative is purely the religious people.
So they need to involve.
That's what they make it sound like they are scared in there.
Because if not so, my father who does Namioring King, he go put libation there. If he wants to hire the place that it's
No,
my
the fact that we
50th
say it's a
anniversary,
tourist, it's open to tourists doesn't mean you can go and do what you want to.
No, whatever.
It has a
Tourism.
purpose.
Do you not go to Siakonedi Shrine in Latte?
It has
Tourism.
restrictions.
So you pick and choose.
It has restrictions.
My friend.
You can't just walk to the church and do
No,
it.
you know what? If it's business, I'm paying for the venue.
Yeah.
Oh, but there are certain places that, in as much as you pay to use them, you have restrictions to things you can do and things you can do.
Then it's not like
That's like why you cannot just go to Jubilee House and
Mixing
take
business with religion.
Yeah, I'll just go with that Attorney General says it's not.
Please, you say you're vying for what, quickly?
Nook's president.
Yeah, where?
What is the election?
The date isn't out, but supposedly around June, July, we should have our elections.
Okay. My friend Eben, what are you vying for?
The Law Students Association president.
Allah, uniform.
I think we have two potential presidents here.
We'll see after your wins, possibly.
Sure.
Both of us.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you.
He's about to see a chartered insurer and a law student activist Clinton, and incoming,
Hoping to.
hoping to be
No
Nook's
campaign.
president. Thank you so much, guys. All right, that's it for Lifestyle Daily. Up next is Motivation Monday.